Becky.
Hey, Jim.
Hi. Good, it works. That's always. Where's my video?
Where it?
Oh, that way there. There it is.
You got it?
Yeah.
Nice.
It always comes in on default. I don't know why. I mean, it defaults off. Oh, maybe that's just the way it is. The way Zoom has it set up. I wanted to tell you that I will, of course, be at the meeting next Tuesday.
Oh, good.
I mean, I attend all meetings, as you know, so
Yeah.
you can always count on me.
That's great. Yeah, I can't remember. I didn't make a meeting one time. Oh, now my calendar is telling me I have a Zoom meeting.
Oh, really? Tonight? Well, this one, yes.
Yeah, that's weird. Too much technology. Sometimes it gets a little.
Yeah, it's.
But the cell phone, I know there's good reasons not to have them, but it really helps to have emails coming through on my cell phone because they're hard to keep up to. Oh.
Well, I'm sure they're pouring in at all times.
All right, George is here.
But muted.
Sometimes.
Hello.
Hey, George.
How's it going?
Good.
Hey, Jim.
George?
I hear you got sworn in just in the nick of time.
Yeah. I got the letter this morning, so I gave her a call. I can't forget, Gail, is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was fine. She was there.
No, it's Grace.
Grace, that's it.
Grace
It's Grace.
Banish.
Yeah. Yeah.
So her mother, right? Her father is Steve Banish?
Yep. And her mom is Dina Stander.
That's it. Dina Standard, right. They live on Sand Hill Road.
Yep.
Okay. I've been in town too long.
Maybe we all have, but it's a good thing.
You've been
Right.
in town longer than me. Jim, how long have you been living in town?
Since 1977.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah. It sort of gives away my age, I'm afraid.
We probably drove by each other on Leverett Road at some point. I left in 78 after living out here from 75 to 78. I lived next door to Town Hall.
Really?
Oh, in your brother's house?
I lived actually you know how there's a little cabin to the side of my brother's, well, it's now looks like part of the house, but my boyfriend at that point and Russ built that, and that's where I lived.
Oh, cool.
After I spent a year in the 80-year-old barn. So it was a real upgrade to have a house.
You were young, you could take it. You were rugged.
Was this on
Yeah.
the east or the west side of Town Hall?
It's on the east side.
The east side. Okay, I know where you are.
Yeah, Russ Wilson's house, the one with the fence in the front.
Yep.
Oh, I got a phone call. Hold on.
So George, it felt real strange not talking to you very much the last year. Aren't you glad I didn't bother you too often? Oh, did it? George, did you? I just sent out a new agenda. I should tell people that. I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somehow you lost connection. It didn't show.
It shut down the sound and the microphone. Okay. Yeah, I do have the agenda. I was just opening it up, and I also got the FinCom transfers.
Yep. Good. Not too bad this year.
Small.
Health insurance. Yeah, if we didn't have the health insurance overrun, which I've never had before, we would have been really perfect.
Well, you know, overrunning health insurance, $9,000 doesn't seem so bad to me.
But it's a first.
Yeah, that's good. Let's hope that doesn't happen again for a while then.
Yeah.
I mean, we've used that line in the past to fund other lines, actually.
Yep. Yeah, because we've been really over. That's usually the source of free cash.
Yeah, so how you feel?
I just realized I have a question for Gail. I'll be right back.
So Jim, you want to be the chair?
No,
That was quick.
I have my hands full with the MLP, as you know.
Yeah.
And we're up against, one thing I would really like to do tonight is to get the Finance Committee to vote in a preliminary way to advise our town treasurer to renew the ban for another year. And this, of course, will come up for much more detailed discussion next week. But there seems to be so much confusion. I mean, so many changes of agendas and people on vacation and notes. It's so confusing right now, and it's such an important um, thing to tell him to do that. Or I just don't want any confusion to settle in, because we do have a plan, and actually just between you and me, if all goes well, we may be able to totally eliminate this debt within a year to 2 years, but we have to be able to do it without putting long-term, without going into a long-term situation, which will of course cut the whole thing, to pieces. So at any rate, that's sort of what's on my agenda tonight.
Well, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way. Wow.
Yeah, it's because, if we can do this, I mean, I've got the figures right in front of me because Steve Schmidt just sent them to me this afternoon. But, we could have that debt, by August of next year, we could have that debt down to under $100,000, and maybe even less if we decide to take, if things have gone well for us during the upcoming year. And in that case, we can start turning towards reducing subscription fees and things like that, which will be very appealing, I think, to most everybody in Shutesbury.
I would think so, yes. I am curious, and nothing that needs to be answered now, but as the year goes on and I see more and more numbers, I'll be curious to see how the price that we're charging is working out. Is it creating a good surplus, a small surplus? I mean, if it's creating a big surplus, then who knows? Maybe we'll have some funds, because we built a lot of contingency into that price, didn't we?
Yeah. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Well, it's there's so many variables, and not the least of which are the repair and maintenance ones. And we don't know what's going to hit us. I mean, we could get some hurricane or something. As you know, any number of bad things can happen.
In Shutesbury, they do. Weather-wise.
Weather-wise. So one can't, plan too far ahead with all of these.
No, you have to make sure we maintain those reserves. I get it. You don't want to dig into those and then find out you needed them.
Yes, exactly. So always an interesting tale to tell.
Well, I'm looking
But
forward
it's
to
going,
from the treasurer.
it's going well. The MLP is doing well so far. I've been doing service calls, as you know, or maybe you don't know.
I didn't.
And so I get sort of the inside look at what problems we do face. There's Gail. Hello, Gail.
Greetings.
Hey, Bob.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
I'm trying to make sure I get everybody in. That's why I'm staring over here. George is muted again.
Yeah.
You want me to be unmuted?
Yes.
Okay. My wife would say the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she doesn't get to choose.
Speaking of which, I'm going to go close my.
Okay.
Hi, Melody. Oh, you're muted.
Hi.
Ah, there it goes.
I guess Jim Walton is not here yet. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Here's
And
AJ
AJ.
and AJ. So we're just waiting on Jim Walton.
Not muted.
Hmm?
I'm not muted.
There's AJ.
That's
There's
AJ.
AJ.
Okay. I just have a few things for the FinCom, but I should wait till Jim gets here. Did everyone check? I sent out on the day I sent the packet. I ended up adding a couple things to the agenda, and I'm sorry that they didn't. Here's Jim.
Jim.
There we go. Okay. Jim unmuted.
Okay.
Okay, so since one of the first actions you all will need to take is to vote a chair and a secretary or vice chairs. But to start with, I just want you aware that I sent out an email. It added, what was posted was 2 items. One was Paul Lyons wanted to share a couple of words at the beginning of the meeting. And the second is recycling. Meryl's here to talk about the recycling shed and the developments there. And here comes Gary Bernhardt too. So it ended up that, first, welcome everybody. I'm sorry. Thank you. This is a lot of new finance committee members. I think it's a new record. So welcome to everybody. And Paul ended up having a very poor internet connection up at the RV camp in New Hampshire. So he's written an email and asked me to share it with you. So I'm gonna, if that's all right with you, I'm gonna start by doing that. And then we can get on to voting for a chair and secretary so you guys can take the meeting back.
Yeah, Becky,
Yeah,
I'm not sure we all on the committee know each other. Should we maybe do some
that would be
introductions?
wonderful, yes.
Yeah.
And
Is the meeting called to order?
it hasn't been yet,
Okay.
okay? So let's have it, I'll call the meeting to order since I don't know if I can. How about Jim Walton and Jim Hemingway? Why don't you call the meeting to order?
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order.
And so would I.
Great. And so now we have Paul's message.
Yeah, and just for introductions, I'm Jim Walton, and I welcome Melody to the group, and Susie and George. I think I've seen George before.
Susie too.
Yeah, Melody's first time to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, do you want
Melody, is that a background, a green screen background, or are you in a really cool space? I can't quite tell.
Oh, well, you might have to just wonder. No, it's a it's a good background.
Okay.
I mean, I have some work stuff behind me, so I just.
Gotcha. Yeah.
good idea? So how about we start with Jim Hemingway and you all introduce yourselves, all the finance committee members.
Jim Hemingway, and I'm also on the Shutesbury MLP, one of those MLP people as well.
I can
George?
jump in. Oh,
Oh, AJ, go.
AJ Cashew, FinCom member.
Bob Groves, FinCom.
George Arvanitis, FinCom, new member.
Susie Mosier, former town clerk, done with that. And been in town since 75.
Hey, who else do we have? Is that everybody?
Melody.
Melody.
Melody Chartier. I've lived in Shutesbury just about a year. Came from upstate New York after living in the city for quite a number of years. So happy to be here and working at UMass.
Okay. I think that's everybody. Okay. So here's a message from Paul. I want to welcome the new FinCom members and thank you for your willingness to serve the town on one of the most important committees. I don't want to take up much time, but I did want to share a few thoughts with you as we head into what will likely be a challenging year for town budgets across the state. Town moderators have been given a significant authority and responsibility in appointing of FinCom members, and I take that role very seriously. Some moderators use their power to influence their town's budgeting and general fiscal direction. I will not do that, but I still have some basic expectations of members. These include that you actively participate and contribute to the important work that the committee does, that you do not just rubber stamp the budget requests that you receive from department heads, committees, etc., but you critically assess the appropriateness of those requests, that you respect each other, and remember that you all should share a common goal, i.e. to balance providing the level of services that the townspeople desire with keeping Shutesbury affordable for as many residents as possible. So strive to be strong and independent advocates for the townspeople. I don't anticipate that I will be interacting with the committee very much during the year, except as we get close to town meeting. But I may tune in to meetings now and then to see how things are going. And remember that just as I ask you not to rubber stamp budget requests, neither will I just rubber stamp member reappointments. An efficient, functional FinCom requires a level of commitment, cooperation, and participation by its members. And that's what I'll be expecting and striving for during my time as town moderator. Thank you for listening, Paul. Paul. So I'll forward that email to all the members after the meeting. Okay, all right, so let's get to the first, I guess the open public comment should probably wait till we have a chair so it can be at their initiation. So do we have any nominations for chair of the Finance Committee?
Yes. I'd like to nominate Bob Groves for chair.
I'd like to nominate Susie Mosier as a chair.
I would like to nominate Jim Walton for the chair.
Okay, guys, any more? Okay, do I hear any more nominations? Okay, good thing all 7 people are here, because if this was a tie, it'd be really tough. So why don't we start? I think the process we should do is go through and vote on each person separately. Does that make sense to everyone? If you all take a vote on the first person and then the second person and the 2 that get the highest number of votes. Yes.
Hi, sorry. If you don't mind, I'm going to claim to be new for at least 10 years. So if you don't mind me asking naive questions, would people just mind giving a sentence as to why they want to be the chair? just to have a sense of making an informed vote, because I don't really know any of you.
That sounds like a great idea. So let's start with Bob.
Well, if I were chair of the finance committee, I certainly would look critically at requests. I mean, people on the committee and generally people around town know that I'm known for that. And I think it's important to do that. I think that Paul expressed pretty much my view about what the finance committee is all about. That is, its fundamental responsibility is to represent the taxpayer. And it should then treat the requests that are made to the town for monies fairly, but critically, in the sense that they should be examined, scrutinized, and balanced with the fiscal sort of capabilities of the taxpayers here, which vary quite a bit. And we all agree, and I'm sure this is true, that property taxes are an extraordinarily regressive form of taxation, and they can cause hardship to individual families. So my belief is that the town should be extremely careful about raising the tax levy for those reasons. I'm sure that everybody on the committee knows that's my position. So I would represent that point of view as chairman if I were put in that position.
But, George, I know you would represent that point of view, and we know that that's your position, but being the chair has different level of responsibility. I mean, you can always make those arguments and present your point of view no matter who's the chair. Why do you want to be the chair?
Well, I didn't really say that. I wasn't campaigning for it. You know, if the sort of unpredictable event that I were voted in by acclamation, then that would be something I would accept. But I would certainly do, as you pointed out, George, and you know very well, for our time together on the committee, I would try to represent my viewpoint on the committee and to influence other members to vote accordingly. So yeah, I'll certainly do that as a member of the board. But I think that the chair actually just runs the meetings. He's just another member who has one vote. He has certain responsibilities to communicate with the rest of the committee. But still, in the end, we all have an equal vote on matters fiscal. So I would certainly value that as a sitting member of the committee.
Thank you.
Okay, Susie?
My view of being a chair is to facilitate discussion, make sure people have equal time, call on people to hear what they're thinking about, and then to watch the meeting unfold and see what kinds of questions are being raised and what kind of assignments or tasks or research might come out of those, and make sure everybody has some of the work to do, because there is a lot of work usually. And so I see it much more as a facilitator, not about my personal opinion.
Okay, Jim Walton.
Yeah, this is will be my last year on the finance committee. My term comes up, and I've developed, I think, a fair amount of experience the years being on this committee, and it's been really an enjoyable experience. So I'd like to, maybe this is an opportunity to try to put that into that experience to work supporting leadership of the committee. I think we always have to, as we go through our discussions through each meeting, the important thing is that we always, and this is, I think, the leader's role is to make sure we always are thinking, what is our role? And our role is we are here we're here for this town. We're here to support the town. We're not here for our own specific interests. We're focusing on the town. Where does the town want us to head? Where do they want us to be? And it's up to us to make sure that we're steering our decisions and agenda and whatnot in the direction of what the town is looking for. I think we need to make sure we stay organized, we stay on track as much as possible. stay focused on the agenda, and those are all roles for the lead. So a team, and that we're functioning as a team. Support the efforts that it takes for the team to be working together, and that we feel like we're all part of the same team. I think that's part of the role. Gail, you keep on smiling.
I'm just that happy. This is just democracy in action. Just brings me joy. What can I say?
Okay. So are we ready to vote?
So Becky, can I ask a question, process question? So we're going to vote separately on each candidate here. And so I assume that means we're allowed to vote yes on multiple members. Is that the idea? Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's what, so my thinking is, 1 second, Bob, I'll explain, then have your question. My thinking is we vote each person separately.
Mhm.
The people that are the 2 highest votes, then will be voted on at the same time. So 1 person drops out, there'll be a second vote. And I think on the second vote, we can either vote them separately or we can vote them all together. What's your preference?
I was wondering if we could do ranked choice voting. And everybody just pick 1, 2, 3, put it in a hat and see who gets the most ones. And, you know, if it's too complicated, I get it. But ranked choice voting, that'd be kind of fun.
Here's the hat.
That's okay. I like Becky's idea.
No, we can do it that way.
I'm just throwing it out, that's all.
On which way to do it? How many people want to do ranked choice voting? All those in favor?
If we were in person, I would say yes. I feel like it might be complicated to do
Yeah,
it.
I agree with
via
that.
Zoom.
Great.
I just love the idea of doing it. I've never done it before.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with Becky. I think Becky's idea is a good idea.
No, I'm happy to change, but you guys.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Nobody raised. That's good.
I'd like to ask a question, Becky.
Yep.
People are not meant to vote for themselves, are they? I mean, that's,
Oh, you can vote for yourself.
but you can't, can you vote against yourself?
Yeah, you can do either one. You can step on yourself or no. So you can vote for yourself. And so we'll start in reverse order. So we'll start with Jim Walton.
Yeah, Becky?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you should be here for this.
Yeah, I had to turn my chicken. We're voting for 1 person here?
Yes, George was trying to urge everyone to do ranked choice voting, and I've done it before, but not recently. So the committee did not jump on that idea, and we're just going to vote 1 person at a time.
Okay.
Okay, and the first vote, the 2 people that got the most votes will continue on to the second vote. Okay, that's clear to everyone?
Yep.
All right. So, all right, all those in favor of Jim Walton?
You want us to raise hands?
Yes. Jim, let me just get George. I'm sorry, I just have to write down everybody's name first, sorry.
No vote for me.
Jim
Oh,
Sanders.
I can only vote for 1 person, right?
No, you can vote.
Oh, we can vote for everybody.
You can vote for multiple
Well,
people.
Yeah, you can vote for everybody. Hemingway, Bob. Okay, we got George. I don't think.
They're all laughing.
Okay, so for Jim Walton, I see Susie, I see AJ, and Melody.
And Jim.
And Jim.
I hope.
Wait,
Welcome.
I'm sorry, could you just put them up again one more time?
Pick them up.
Okay, so we've got Jim Walton, AJ, Melody, and Susie. Okay. Okay, for Susie Mosier,
AJ.
we have Jim Walton, AJ, George. Am I missing anybody? No. Okay, and for Bob? We have Jim, Hemingway, Bob, and Melody. Okay, so we have a tie. This didn't
It
work.
didn't work.
Well, there's-
No, we have four.
Has
Jim Walton,
four.
four.
Yeah, we have 4 and 4. There's a runoff.
Oh, Susie had 4?
No, Jim has 4.
Jim has
Jim
four.
has
Lucy had
but
4 as
two
well.
people have
3.
3. So
So
we
it's Jim.
needed,
We have a winner.
Yeah, you have a winner. Yeah, it's Jim.
Jim is the winner.
4, 3,
Four is more
3.
than 3.
Because Susie didn't vote for herself.
oh, we were gonna vote 3 times, yeah, okay. So we'll just go with Jim as a winner?
That's right.
Or do we have another vote?
Math.
Because I was gonna,
Congratulations,
drop-
Jim.
we were gonna drop the lowest
whatever.
and vote again. All right,
Well, no,
we're good with Jim winning the contest?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody's good, great. All right, Jim, how's the chicken? No, you're now in charge.
Getting burned.
Congratulations. Well, it might be by the end of the meeting.
once you're the chair, it's going to get burned a lot. Yes.
Okay, and there's one other thing I wanted to mention, Jim, is that I just want to be clear that all the broadband people are aware that the treasurer is not meeting with us tonight. That has been postponed till next Tuesday for discussion with the treasurers. I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. Okay, I thought Steve was going to let everyone know, but I'm not sure if he did. Okay, so the second thing on the agenda is secretary. Do I have here, Jim, Walton, do you want to handle this? See if you can persuade somebody to run for secretary.
Okay, or does somebody want to nominate something?
Does
Would it
anybody
be
want to?
nomination, or would it be,
Yeah, take nominations, that's perfect.
okay. Jim,
Yes, I would nominate Susie Mosher for secretary.
I
With that-
decline. I'm not going to start with that role. Thank you.
Well, that's unfortunate because I think you know more about minutes and the process than anybody else on the committee. You certainly have had a long experience in doing so.
okay, any other nominations?
I don't know if AJ would be interested in doing it, but I know he keeps good minutes.
I would somewhat reluctantly accept if there's nobody else that
That's
wants to do it.
That's it.
All
Works
right.
for me.
Yes.
I think it'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I can do it.
Is there anybody else interested in being the secretary? Congratulations, AJ.
All right, I better start taking notes.
I can.
All right.
Okay. Discussion topics. So we are down to, Jim, I think we're down to the recycling shed discussion.
Do we want to do public comments? Do we need to do?
Oh, you're right. Right. Jim, did you want to open it up for public comment?
Yeah, let's open it up for public comment.
I'd like to say something. So this is Gail Hunter. So I'm the MLP manager. I just came for that discussion about the bans, and I did get the message that it was not going to be discussed tonight. And then I got another message saying that no, it was going to be discussed tonight. So I'm confused. That's why I'm here tonight. So I will gladly sign off if that's all postponed. We're not going to discuss that at all tonight?
No, the treasurer, the bond rep did not get back with all the information due to her vacation schedule. So it's going to be next week. Yeah.
Just a point of interest that I received an email at 6:47 that said it was a revised agenda, that it would include the discussion of the bond issue. That was what was sent to me. So that was an error, I guess, but that's.
No, I'm sorry, the agenda had not been changed. I can't change the agenda at that point, and I listed the things that had changed, and I should have said that the MLP was off. Sorry for the confusion. I was just adding the shed, making sure you guys were aware of what was posted on Friday after the first agenda. And
Okay, thank you. I will see you all next week then.
Gail,
Yeah.
Well, before
Calyx package arrived.
The what?
Calyx package arrived at Town Hall.
Wonderful. That's our GPON blade. Thank you. Okay.
Important.
Great. Great. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Leslie, you have a,
Yes, I have my hand up. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
I would prefer to be able to provide some public comment after kind of watching the meeting and watching the process, if that's all right.
And Becky, I know that we're going to, and Jim, I know we're going to discuss.
Jim, before you get, Leslie, I just want to make sure I understand. So are you saying you want to make sure we have the flexibility for you to comment later?
Yes,
After we
yes,
Oh.
yes, that's my request.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yep. I'm sorry, Jim.
Yes, yes. Well, Gail is still here, of course, but I think there's been so much confusion, disruption, COVID-19, you name it, that's going on, that I just want to be sure that everyone knows at this point, and maybe we could do a vote on it to confirm this, that we on the MLP really want to guide the treasurer towards renewing the ban for another year. It's as simple as that. That's all I'm asking for, that we are aware of this, because I just don't want anything to go wrong with this, with this, because there has been, people are on vacation. It's just, this is a difficult time of year to line up all the ducks in a row, so to speak. But I do want to emphasize this point, because it's very, very important to us in how we are going to deal with the issue of the debt that's coming up for renewal in August.
Is there a deadline, Jim?
Yes, there is.
And what is that?
Well, it's August. It comes up for renewal in August, but the preparations to handle it and to make a decision on what to do are almost immediate, within the next few weeks. The treasurer can't wait until August, till mid-August to do this. The treasurer has to act now, and we have to be sure that he knows what we want him to do.
I just, as I do every time Jim makes this comment, I want you all to be aware that this call is the treasurer's call. Once town meeting votes to appropriate the money, it is no longer, the treasurer is responsible for making the best decision on the timing of that. He is very open to input. He will work with the finance committee to discuss and talk to the MLP. But this is not something that, that is resolved by the decision of the MLP. It's the decision of the treasurer, not the MLP.
Well, Becky, I hate to disagree with you, of course, but it's really the decision of the Board of Selectmen, of the Select Board. I looked into this legally. If you like, I'll put all of the legal bearings right up on the screen for everybody to take a look at. But this is something that the treasurer is guided by the Select Board, and what the Select Board decides to do, since they're the ones who signed the loan 2 years ago, and of course a year ago when it was renewed, they are the ones that make the decision. And they, of course, would listen to us, they would listen to the finance committee, and they would also listen to the treasurer. But the treasurer is there to do the bidding of the Select Board, and he does not make the final decision. He carries out the decision that we would like him to make. And I looked into this legally, and I can, if you want, I'll put it up on the screen. I have all of the Massachusetts general laws that support this view and all the rulings. Is there has been quite a bit said about it.
I think the point, Jim, is it's not an MLP decision.
Well,
And
I'm not
the
saying that it
treasurer
is.
is open and willing to take input from everybody, but my understanding is he is legally obligated to make the best decision for the town, working with town officials, which he is doing. So I think all you're referring to is that he does it by listening and working with town officials, but it's not a vote of the MLP.
No, it's the board, it's the select board. It's the select board makes the determination. There's their signatures that are on the loan, not the treasurer's. This is in black and white in, in Massachusetts general law. I'm not making this up, believe me. I did look into it because it's been an issue that has cropped up quite a few times in the
Let's
past.
continue on, Jim, because you didn't hear my point the last time I said it. So let's get to another topic.
Yep. So Susie,
So if there's information for the meeting that's going to happen next week, it could be put out. It can't be discussed, but the information could be gathered. So rather than having a discussion tonight, I'd like to have the information to have the discussion next Tuesday.
We certainly will have the discussion next Tuesday. But there's been just a lot of missteps. Things are going in strange directions. We don't know. What I'm trying to get us all to agree on, that this is what the MLP would like to see happen. And I believe it is also what the Finance Committee would like to see happen. And then when
And
Ryan
Jim,
is there, we can
at
discuss the whole thing.
Broadband committee, I've been at broadband committee meetings where they voted not to do it. So there are many.
Not to do what?
You on this issue.
Not to do
Going
what?
out for a ban.
What?
There have been varying points of view over time.
Well, there
and
isn't
they have
any
not
very.
always voted to support going out for a ban. You have a meeting tomorrow night, and then you can discuss it there and bring that information next week.
I'd like to just say a word, if I may. Chairman is gone. I'd just like to say something to support what Jim's point is here, that, look, the treasurer is not the viceroy of Shutesbury. He doesn't get to decide whether we're borrowing money or not, how much money we're borrowing, and all the details of what we're looking for in terms of a loan. Common sense tells you that he implements the policy that's set by our highest elected officials. The legal authority is the select board. We are an advisory panel. We make recommendations on financial measures to the select board. The MLP, of course, are experts. They have intimate knowledge about this matter, so we would naturally bring them into the consultation and in a fully transparent and open way. That the treasurer, on the other hand, is the executor, the implementer of our policy. To say that he has absolute authority about how long the loan will go out, to me, makes absolutely no sense. He'll do what we tell him to do because he's an employee of the town and he is an expert at putting the thing out to bid and making a deal with the bank. He doesn't decide how much money we're going to borrow or anything like that, or how long we want to borrow it for. That's up to the elected officials of the town. That's clear to me. So let's not make mistakes about it. And Becky, the Finance Committee has authority here, the Select Board has authority here, and the MLP has a great deal of expertise and I think credibility here. So let's not make a mistake about that either. I don't see why we'd want to argue about this. It seems perfectly sensible.
I don't
We would have a
understand either,
policy.
Bob, and I am orchestrating and trying to make sure there is a meeting that has all parties included.
I just don't want this to go to the last minute where we're sort of put into a corner and then it's a fait accompli that some decision has been made outside of this committee and outside of the other deliberative boards in the town. So let's get this, I think the committee should express its views on the subject tonight if we can.
So the MLP is meeting tomorrow and is going to be discussing this, and we're going to be meeting with the treasurer next week. So why wouldn't we want all of that information available to us for the purpose of discussion?
My only concern, AJ, is that this goes
That it doesn't happen?
power. That's all.
Yeah, I would like to see what the MLP recommends after their meeting tomorrow night. And then, like Susie said, if we can get it up front and have time to digest it, that would be very helpful. And then if the select board is the signing authority on the final determination, then it seems to me they should be in our meeting next week if we want to be able to influence them or, be their, what's our responsibility? Be their, advisors on what we think is the best way to finance this ban. I don't know if they're on the agenda, but otherwise we would have to go to their select board meeting when they're voting on it so that we could advise them at that point.
I think there's some confusion about when things need to get voted and when things are authorized. Once a bond is authorized, and I don't want to get in further into this discussion. There is confusion at what point the select board has authority or not. And we can talk about it next week.
Okay, any other, Melody, any comments? Are you just taking this in right now?
Well, I don't know anything, so,
Okay.
sorry.
You're taking it in right now.
Yes, I mean, I would want to see kind of what Jim was mentioning, some of the, where it's laid out in black and white what the process is, because, I mean, if you think about it from a corporate standpoint, the treasurer is really the implementer. I mean, I think just logically kind of what Bob was saying. So I'd like to see how that's written out.
Great. From the MLP, I've been listening to all of this. From the MLP's point of view, I see our role is to give a recommendation about this. So when we meet tomorrow, we will be discussing this. And by the end of the week, I will send a summary to all of you about what our results of our discussion was so that you can take that into account. Does that sound good?
Great.
Okay, great. I'm on it.
Perfect.
All right, you can expect it by the end of the week.
Thanks, Gail.
Sure.
Next item I see is review minutes. Does that sound right? To review minutes from last meeting?
Yes.
Does everybody have minutes or do we want to,
No, I don't think.
We get the date on that? Does anybody have that handy?
It can go to everybody.
Who sent it? Was it Wheezy?
it was probably Wheezy.
It was probably Wheezy, yeah.
So probably best to hold those to next meeting.
Yeah.
Most of you don't know where they are.
I've never seen any meeting, any minutes.
All right, I'll
The 6/18 FinCom is the last minute she sent me.
Same here.
And that was on June 18th.
Let me dig a little.
Yeah, those are
bit.
the last ones I have as well.
Those were the last minutes, I think.
So that only meeting we had since then was town meeting, so.
But I think that was the last one.
Yeah, I do have the 6/18 minutes, yeah.
okay, and that was the last meeting?
Yep,
Yes,
All right, so those weren't voted on.
right.
so,
Okay.
Yeah, I have them right. I can share a screen
Great.
if that makes,
That's great.
So we have June 16th and June 18th.
Yeah, there are
correct?
two, there are six.
Yeah, right.
do
and
we
it-
want to go for the 16th first?
Yeah, let's look at that.
Okay, let's see. Becky, are you leading? Do you have the, you might have to disable yours. You might have to disable
Oh,
sharing.
right. I'll just make you a co-chair.
Okay.
Co-host. There you go.
All right.
So I see a typo on item 5. I think that should be Finance Committee recommends Shutesbury become a member of the Mosquito Control Group.
I'm not seeing anything.
I'm not seeing anything. Is it on the screen?
Oh, sorry. No, it's not. I'm looking at my.
Yeah, I've got mine too.
Yeah. I've got it on another computer
I don't
here.
see Jim's screen.
You can't see my screen?
No.
Let's try now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes,
There
that's
you go.
better.
Co-chair reads virtual meeting minutes, rules. Minutes approved from June 8th. Discussion of the format, the budget presentation. Review and edit fiscal year 21 budget report. A22 motion passes unanimously.
I think that should read Finance Committee recommends Shutesbury or Town of Shutesbury become a member of
Yeah.
mosquito control group.
Yes, is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
AJ's? Okay, meeting adjourned at 9. Upcoming meetings, the 18th and the 27th. Any other comments? Anything missing? Anything need revision?
Good with the so amended. I submit that we should approve these minutes as amended.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
What do
Aye.
we need to take? Do we need to take turns here on Zoom?
I can
I think
see
so.
Becky, I think we need to go one at a time. Right.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Alphabetically by voting,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mr. Arvanitis.
Yeah. Where's Arvanitis?
I abstained. I wasn't there, so I'm not voting on this.
Okay. Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Oh, Mosier abstain. Chartier.
Chartier abstain.
and Walton, aye. So minutes passed as adjusted or changed. Okay, you want to go to the 18th minute?
Yeah.
Okay, where are we here?
I'm not.
Yeah, one moment.
Yeah, I'm not after one of the. What does pea gross mean? It's sort of at the end of the list of names. It's sort of, I'm not sure what she meant by that.
Gee, gross.
Is it referring to a person or what?
Oh, yeah, before
Peg
Penny.
Ross. That's Peg Ross.
Oh, Peg Ross. Okay, all right.
Gee, gross.
Okay, all right.
So this was the
That-
budget presentation?
No,
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it was,
course.
wasn't it? Yeah.
It says number 2, budget presentation.
Yeah.
This was done in webinar format.
oh, yeah.
Who is Fire Tablet?
So I think Becky was just recording all of the names for anybody that
On the screen.
tuned in. And so I think people's names appeared in all kinds of different ways in Zoom.
Yes, that's right.
It's however they entered their names into the meeting.
You know, Becky, it might be useful if it's not difficult to have a like a transcript of the comments. Is that something that Paul provided you, or?
Wheezy wrote this. I didn't write this.
I'm sorry, but I meant it sounds like that from the webinar itself that there was some
Yeah, I think we
archive.
have tape. We have an audio tape that.
Oh, I see. It's audio, not a transcript. Okay, forget it.
May I suggest that we just leave this the way that she wrote it down, because presumably she took it off of the meeting, the way these different cells were identified to her.
Yeah.
I think that if anybody needs to dig deeper, that could be easily done later as well as now, I would imagine. I mean, we can't ever know who Fire Tablet was, I don't think.
That makes sense.
Okay, any other
Yep.
comments on these minutes? Number 3, review the fiscal year 21 budget report. Document edits needed. Does that all look okay to everybody?
Yep.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
Arvanitis, yay.
Hemingway, yay.
Groves, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Chartier, aye.
Walton, aye. Minutes pass as written.
Can I just make a brief comment? Very brief. I just wanted to say that I came out of that budget presentation very pleased with the process and the kind of quality of the discussion. And I thought it turned out to be a very useful activity. And I know the initial idea of doing that was born out of trying to limit or shorten some of the discussion at town meeting. But, I think based on the conversation, I would recommend that that's something the committee do again next year in advance of the town meeting. I just thought it was extremely helpful way to share information, get questions and address them and hear feedback, like very detailed, rich feedback from town members. So just wanted to share that because I don't think we had a chance to talk about that meeting after.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, AJ. I had some comments from a couple of people that joined in that meeting, that participated, some town people, and they seemed to feel it was very effective. They learned a lot, and it was very valuable for them.
Mhm.
Mike.
While you're talking about that meeting, I'd just like to add that I attended that, and there was some pretty good information provided. However, the format of having to write your answer or write your question into the moderator, I thought was not a very good system. I was expecting more of a discussion where you could ask a question and then have a follow-up if your question wasn't answered completely. So as far as the webinar method is concerned, it worked pretty well, but the way questions were being fielded, I didn't think was adequate.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, do we want to go to the next agenda topic, which I see as open meeting law review?
Yeah.
Jim,
Yes.
could we just make sure I think the expense report review, the FinCom transfers is the most important thing on the agenda, which was right before open meeting law review, I think.
Not on the one I have.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's
I've got,
let's go with yours.
I'm sorry?
Let's go with yours.
But we can go, if you think the expense report review is more important, we can start with that.
It's not really it's the transfers I send out. It's the end of the year transfers that are very important today.
Okay, do we want to go ahead and go to that topic?
That'd be great.
Okay.
And then again, the other one we jumped over was the recycling shed. So I know we have people waiting for the recycling shed conversation.
Can we do that first since Meryl's on and yes,
Gary.
and Gary too. Yep.
Yeah, we should make them wait.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
If you're ready, let me just identify ourselves to Melody. Welcome, Melody, and the other two members who are back on the FinCom. Thank you all for serving. I'm Meryl Mandel and the chair of the Recycling Committee, Recycling and Solid Waste Committee. And Gary is our, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm a recycling coordinator.
For the town. So just a brief overview. Last April, we came to the town and requested a shed to house our boxes for distribution of trash bags throughout town. And we were pleased that we were approved to get a shed for the town, but Gary and I had done our due diligence, gone to a number of shed providers and recommended a ShedWorks shed for the town to be placed at the school. There was some strong advocacy from Jim on the committee recommending that we go with a different shed, that we go with the Lemoore lumber shed, and a vote was taken and we lost by 1 vote. And we were happy to get a shed, but anyway, so we got the shed. It was erected on site, and unfortunately, the shed itself has, what we wanted was a very finished shed that would be the first thing that's seen coming into the school property and that the school was comfortable having there. And we talked with the principal, they want it painted, they want it finished looking. What we ended up with was a very rustic shed that has some significant structural issues. It's got doors that do not close correctly. It's got gaps between the siding so that our trash bags can get wet and boxes can mold and become a problem. So anyway, there are a number of issues with the current shed we have. So what we have done is work with Becky. She has placed the shed on Craigslist to try to sell it because it's a very, very rustic shed and it does not meet our needs, which was what we tried to tell the committee when we came to you. But anyway, so what we want to do is sell that shed if we can for what we paid for it, and then purchase the shed that we came to the town for, which is actually about the same price as that shed. But in reality, if we have to keep the shed we have now, it's going to be a lot less expensive, because if we end up having to keep the shed we have now, it needs 2 coats of paint, so you have to pay someone to do that. It needs the doors repaired, there's no cross bracing. It needs slat
Buttons on the outside. Yeah.
that button on the slat so that there's no water infiltration, and some other minor improvements. So the cheapest way for the town to go is to sell the shed if we can, and I'm sure hoping someone will buy it, and then we can get the shed that we originally brought before you and were unable to get approved. But Gary and I have 60 years of experience on the recycling committee between us. We know what our needs are as a committee. We requested what we needed. We were overwritten. And I will say, AJ, I heard you say at town meeting when the police were asking for some equipment, you said, well, I would never ask them, I would never question what they say they need for their department. But for whatever reasons, you decided to override our experience and pick something different. And it's playing out how we thought it might, which is it does not meet our committee's needs. So I'm hoping that you will do what you did last time, which is give us the appropriation we need. I think it was free cash that we used last time.
No, it's a finance committee transfer is what you
Finance, okay, a finance committee transfer, but my guess is you're going to want us to have it be contingent on selling the old shed. I'd be happy to have anyone here take the old shed if they would, or buy the old shed. But anyway, we're asking for your support to get us something that will actually meet the needs of our department and our committee. And as I had said, in the 30 years that each of us have been on the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee, we've never asked for anything of substance, anything substantial. This is the first time we've asked for something. So I'm asking you to rethink what you did last time and to approve us for this new purchase.
Let me just add a little background as to how we dealt with the distribution of trash bags during this virus. It worked out really well. Everybody came with masks. We sanitized everything. It really was quite amazing how people got into it. They understood what we were doing, and it went very well indeed. So I just wanted to say that it was a difficult decision on how to distribute these bags, during a time when everyone was worried and during the virus, and it went very well.
Meryl, I'll just add, I don't want to like spend a ton of time going back in time to revisit that discussion. I just, all I'll say is my impression at the time was that the committee needed a shed, made a compelling case for the need for a shed, and we were choosing between two vendors, and I think a fair argument was made about the value of opting for a vendor that was going to source the lumber from local forests. And so, to me, it seemed like a good kind of compromise, and not even so much a compromise, but just a kind of a useful way to kind of give the committee and the town what it needed, and kind of make a good decision about the vendor, which vendor to use for it. I'm sorry it's not working out. I mean, I hear you. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure on all of the details about what the issues are, but again, I didn't personally. My vote was motivated by wanting to give the committee something it needed, and I thought a compelling argument was made for why, given two options, we would choose a vendor that's going to source lumber locally. So anyway, but I'm not sure. It's probably not worth spending a whole lot of time going back in time. But anyway, just thought I'd share that.
I'll just say we did try to make a strong case for what our needs were, and that we wanted a really finished looking one. And apparently we didn't make our case strongly enough. And I am truly sorry that we weren't listened to, because now it's a hassle for everybody. And it's clearly a very rustic shed, and it's fine for a garden shed, but it's not appropriate for what our needs are for a whole bunch of different reasons. The floor's uneven. And in terms of all the reasons, we sent out multiple letters from international experts about why it's not adequate. So I don't want to go into it for long either. We're just looking for your support to get us something that will really work for our committee.
Meryl, I just want to ask one question, and that is going back to the vendor to deal with some of the issues that you talked about. That's not an option, or have you tried that?
Correct. That's not. Becky, go ahead.
Yeah, we have gone back to the vendor. We've done everything. I mean, we could to figure this out, and the vendor provided what Meryl went and looked at a shed, and the shed is, they provided their product. So it's not a matter of their product not being up to their standards. It's a matter of a mismatch of expectations.
Okay.
I'd like to say something just briefly, if I may. Bob Groves here, Building Committee. This project should have gone through the Building Committee. The job of the Building Committee is to do exactly this. We're professional builders and people in the industry. We would have reviewed your request. We would have looked certainly at the building that you like and evaluated it from our standpoint. And then if we were to execute a contract to purchase a building from Bill Moore or the other company that you liked, we would then follow up and make sure that the company performed and that the building met some reasonable standard. For example, if the door doesn't close, that is not a reasonable result. I mean, the door has to be able to be closed. It has to be able to be locked. It has to be secure. If it's not, it's unreasonable. It's not unreasonable for us to demand that it be repaired. So that, Merrill, all due respect, I don't understand why you didn't come to us.
In
That's
all
what
due
we do.
respect back at you, we didn't need to go to you because we did the evaluation. Gary and I both have
But that's
experience
really
with
our
it
job.
and have at our help people who are extremely knowledgeable about buildings and construction who we went to. We looked at multiple sheds and we picked the one that met our needs. So we were blindsided at the meeting by Jim pushing something that he had a strong feeling about. And I'm sorry that people did not listen to us saying we had other considerations. We needed a finished looking product that was something that looked good when you drove into the school, that had a flat floor to move the boxes around, that had a nice paint job and came painted so we don't have to deal with it later. But anyway, we can go on and on. I don't want to do that. I'm just looking for your support to follow through and get the appropriation so that if we are able, if we can find somebody who wants this shed that's fully assembled, that you will do the appropriation to allow us to get what we need as a committee to provide our services, our volunteer services to the town, as we have been doing for so long.
And I just want to clarify, because it was a finance committee transfer, once the money comes back, if it's sold for the full price, the money comes back, it goes directly back into free cash. And so that's why it requires a second transfer request to the finance committee.
How much
That's
is
why we're
it?
here tonight. Yeah.
How much is it? I don't.
It
Was
was
that-
under $4,000. I think in the end it was $3,850.
Yeah.
And I did check with the vendor that Shedworks. It was $3,850 from Shedworks. They said they will honor that price for the near future. I don't know how long they will continue to do that because they said lumber prices are going up, but they are willing to hold that price for the town. And that's basically the same price as what the other shed cost, but the other one did not come painted. And as I said, it came with a lot of flaws.
Sorry, go ahead, Susie.
Susie.
I feel like that we're in a situation that needs to be fixed and we need to move forward. If we think process questions should be addressed, I don't think they need to be addressed in this situation. They probably could be worked out as a committee. We could think about who should review projects and when that should happen. There's capital planning, there's building committees. The FinCom is a financing, is a funding mechanism, not a project review mechanism. So I feel like at this point, if the review of the current building is that it's not going to work out and the cost to paint it and fix it would bring the price over, I feel it's a good resolution for us to go ahead and vote on funding the replacement shed contingent on selling the Lemoore shed.
I personally don't see why we should be voting on funding anything unless the shed were sold. Look, I think that from the description that Merrill gave, it seems to me that the doors need to be repaired, and that's not a big job. I mean, I looked at the shed when this issue first came up some time ago, and I did see that those doors were not shut. And it's something I know a little bit about being a carpenter, something that the vendor should repair. If he doesn't repair it, it's not that difficult to repair. The doors are too big for the opening. That's what it comes down to. As far as the battens, I didn't look at the siding, but from what I'm hearing here, they put they butt boards together without battens, right? So when I looked at it, I didn't see any seams, so I just assumed that there were what I would call interior liner boards there. But if there are no liner boards, then certainly battens can be applied to the outside of the building, and that's not. This building is really small. I mean, it's not that big a deal.
Well, I mean, you know, if
We'll do it though.
I'm not going to do it. No, please. However, you know,
You have to
I
pay.
don't think that you should be selling the building, Mary. You wouldn't do a great job as a salesman on this building, I don't think.
I'm not selling it, the town is. And I'm hoping someone will take it. For a garden shed, it's fine. Again, there are many issues with it, including an uneven floor, including water infiltration, including a roof that's bumpy. There's lots of problems with the building, and it's going to cost a lot to fix it. If you're not going to do it, which it sounds like you don't want to do it, the town's going to have to hire someone to do it, which will cost. And you also have to put on the 2 coats of paint. Why not sell the building for what you paid for it, if it will sell, and then just allow us to get the building that will meet our needs? That's all we're asking for.
Susie, were you making a motion? Has anybody made a motion? We should have had a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to vote on funding a new shed contingent on selling the old shed. Is that all I need to say? Is that enough?
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any further discussion? I would like to speak, since my name has been mentioned by Merrill several times. This is a shed that is used hardly at all relative to many other buildings that surround the school. It's there to store trash bags, of all things. It's not, it certainly is not something that, I think that you are overemphasizing its faults. Yes, it is a rural garden shed. Bill Lamar has built hundreds of these all over New England. To everyone I've talked to who has seen the shed likes it, and they think it's a good-looking shed. It certainly is sturdy, and well worth keeping and holding on to.
If you can help us get someone to buy it, that would be terrific, because it does not meet our needs.
Well, I don't see why it doesn't meet your needs, because, you know,
It's listed about 4 or 5 different reasons.
Well, I don't believe these.
It's going to be a big expense to get it to meet our needs. So it doesn't make sense to put the time, effort into doing that when, if it sells, and this, we don't even know if it'll sell. And if you get people that you really like that shed, if you can talk it up to people and get them to buy it, that would be terrific. That would be really helpful. And then we can get something that meets our committee's needs much better and at a cheaper price.
Well, frankly, I don't see why it doesn't meet your needs. It's used to store trash bags.
First of all, it's the first building you see driving into the school. And it's got a bumpy roof, it's deteriorating, it's not painted now. So it just doesn't look good. And you talk to the principal, she wants it painted. She wanted it to look a certain way, a finished looking shed, just like the one that's at the back of the school that they got in preschool.
These are things that are easily fixed. Just to give you an example, last weekend I went down to Connecticut to visit an old high school friend of mine, and I stopped by the Fairfield Farm in Lakeville, Connecticut, and took a look at a brand new barn that they had built out of rough cut pine, just like the pine that Bill Lamar used to build that shed, and hemlock. And they have stained it a dark barn red, and it was absolutely beautiful, a very attractive building. And this wouldn't be difficult to do. And the stain would help stabilize the expansion and contraction. Remember that this is native wood. It expands and contracts with weather and humidity. And it's not surprising that the doors don't close perfectly at this time, because it's been so incredibly humid lately. So these things are easily repairable without going to all the trouble of trying to sell it, which I think will be very, very difficult to do. Because it's just hard to put it and just move it.
The doors don't close. The shiplap has gaps in it. We could get, for the same price, we could have got a shed that didn't have any of those problems and was painted.
Well, we discussed,
and that's the issue. That's the issue.
Yeah. We argued about this last year, And I don't see what the point is in continuing this argument.
That's right.
I don't either.
We'll call the
No.
question.
Anybody else? Any other comments? Do we want to go ahead and vote? Oh, I'm sorry, Bob. Bob, I think you're on mute.
Be happy to go down, Merrill, look at the shed with you and see what it would take to resolve the issues that you've.
We've sent out multiple letters that have everything identified. So just read the letters. The information's
What
already
letters?
out
I didn't
there.
receive a letter.
Yeah, you got it.
I don't recall. So I mean, I think I would
I
recall.
I don't want to extend this. There's a
Okay,
motion.
well, look, all right, well, fine. I'm just offering my services to help. So if you don't want to.
We know what the problems are.
Any other comments? Okay, we want to go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the motion? Okay, we want to go, we need to go through the, I'm sorry. George.
Arvanitis, aye.
Melody.
I'm really not sure, but I don't, can I go last? I just need to think about it a little longer.
Okay,
Thank you.
you can go after Walton.
Groves.
George, what did you say?
Aye.
Go after Walton. I'm sorry, Bob, I missed.
I said Groves, nay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hemingway, nay.
You're muted, AJ.
Muted. Oops, nope, now you're muted. He wasn't muted.
His mouth isn't working.
AJ,
Hear me now, guys?
there you are.
Okay, sorry, something's going on with my mic. So I'm voting aye in favor of the motion.
Mosier, aye.
Walton, aye.
Shakir, I feel like this is, I'm making an uneducated vote, so I don't know.
And abstain.
Can I ask a procedural question before I vote, just because I don't know?
You can abstain.
Okay, but
I'm not sure.
can I still ask my question?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so are we voting to actually transfer the money now, or what are we voting on exactly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Transferring the money.
Transferring the money contingent on the sale of the shed.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
At the purchase price,
So
correct? The original
procedurally,
purchase price.
do we typically vote on transfers of money before there's an actual, before we actually need to do it? I mean, because the shed hasn't sold yet. So I'm just wondering about the procedure of this. Is that normally how the finance committee does things? You vote to transfer money before the other thing's been sold?
We've never been in a position like
Yeah.
it.
Okay, okay.
This is
This is
brand new,
unusual.
never happened. And I think part of Merrill's issue is it's like a 3-month waiting period
Oh, I see.
to
Okay.
order it. But she still needs to sell it. So she needs to have an understanding if there'll be funding for the new one if the old one's sold.
I see. Okay, and I'm sorry to do this, but I just don't feel like I know enough about it, so I'm going to abstain.
That's
Please. No problem.
That's acceptable.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Next topic.
Can I?
Becky, you want to get into the, I'm sorry.
So I think Gary and I are all set, but I just wanted to thank you all and actually encourage you, if any of you do know someone who's looking for a garden shed and might be interested, especially if it's in town, that would be wonderful. Jim, especially you, since you love that shed, you'd be a good salesman for it since I'm not. So thank you all. I appreciate the support.
Yeah. Thank you both for coming by.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.
Okay. Becky,
okay. Did you get the email that has the transfer sheet? Jim, can you put that on the screen?
I don't think I did.
yes, I have it. You said just before the meeting?
Yes,
Yeah, I have it. I can put it up.
that'd be great.
Okay, let's see. Share screen. Share.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, let me make it bigger.
This is year-end transfers?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just bringing it up here in my,
Can everybody see on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
And Melody, could I just give an explanation for
Please.
Melody? So, and I think AJ, I don't think you've been through this process before either. So at the end of the year, we go through our expense report. It's a document you may have seen already. The expense report is a listing of our budget and tracks all the expenses, the previous year's balance, the original budget, budget revisions, the revised budget, and then our actual expenditures. And at the end of the year, we go through and find any that have gone over to some extent. And there's two possible ways of approaching the situation. One is for the Finance Committee to make a transfer from its finance reserve fund. So it really depends on how many overruns we have in a year, and whether you can do it within the finance reserves. The second method is for the select board to meet with the Finance Committee and then do line-to-line transfers from accounts that have been underspent to accounts that have been overspent. So that's the second method, that in a year where we have more significant overruns, we would use that method of the select board line-to-line transfers and a meeting with the Finance Committee. But because the amount is much smaller this year, it seemed reasonable to use this approach. And if you look on the left-hand column, those are all the account numbers. We have the account names. In the overdrawn account section to the left, there's a listing of the amount overdrawn, and on the right is the amount to be taken from the Finance Committee Reserve Fund.
Becky, may I ask
Yeah.
a question?
Sure.
What buildings, internet communications, why is that line so high this year, I wonder?
Because I took the installation fees that we had out of that account this year.
The installation fees,
Into the building.
you mean?
Yeah, and there was a time where we were getting, well, we finished out the service from one as we got the other. So there was a little bit, and the installation fees, the extra. At this, we covered the school out of that line. It was a couple, I think about $1,300. There were a few things that made it go over. It will be under next year.
This is what the internal wiring that went along with the installation
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
new internet. Okay.
Yeah.
Becky, I don't see the registrar's expenses that went over.
The registrar's expenses and the Board of Health expenses that both went over are being paid for by the CARES Act money, the money that I applied for in June,
Great.
and we've received in time. So
Great.
they'll be paid for out of that.
Thank you.
And the fire department training line, is that in excess of what was budgeted for them? Is that?
Yes, their call line, I believe was, let's see, 5,000 under, but this one was over. And we spotted that early on. And so Walter, it was running high early on. So he clamped down on the amount of trainings that people were going to make sure that it didn't go further over the budget. But his other line is underspent by $5,193.58.
And he can't, that's not a fungible situation. He can't take from Peter to pay Paul.
No, he can't. We could have done that with a joint meeting between the finance committee and the select board. But he can't, unless he makes those lines a single line, he can't do that.
I see.
And it helps us identify the areas where the money is being spent.
Uh-huh.
Any
Can
other
I make a motion for this? Are we ready to?
I just have one question. On any of these lines that are over, I'm looking at the GIS web hosting in particular. Did we were aware of these overages and were prepared for them in the 2021 budget? They've been funded.
That one we were. That one we had, the new assessor was hit with an increase to the GIS that had not been put in a budget request of $500. And he worked hard to underspend his expense line. I think his expense line is underspent by $300. He was trying to keep it under to 500. He was trying to make up for that, but he didn't, he was not aware of the change in the amount until he got the bill.
And then the other line would be the health insurance. How are we looking for 2021 on that?
We made a $30,000 increase for 2021.
And what's the outlook?
We had significant increase in with changes of marriage and single moving to family. We got hit with a few of those last year. And we knew we were going to have some this year, so that should be fine in the new budget.
Good.
That's it for me.
Okay, do we usually individually sign this document, Becky, or is this usually a vote?
Well, it's a vote and you usually sign it. The accountant has been accepting copies of the minutes to verify the vote. But I will, I think we'll have to go with the minutes this time.
Okay.
I can send it around if you guys want to, if we start with through the alphabet, George could sign it, scan it, and send it on because it's an important one. If you'd be willing to do that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. We should get into an electronic signature system here.
That would be good. Okay, I'll sign it and I will send it to the next person on the alphabet.
Great. Melody.
Melody.
Great.
So shall I make a motion that we approve these transfers?
I think Susie's motion was on the table.
Oh, it is.
Is it or no?
I asked if we could do it,
Oh.
but he just made a clear motion, and I second Bob's motion.
Okay, great.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, do we want to go ahead and vote? Starting with George?
George Arvanitis, aye.
Melody Chartier, aye.
Bob Groves, aye.
Jim Hemingway, aye.
AJ Cashew, aye.
Susie Mosier, aye.
Jim Walton, aye. Okay, now, Becky, how did you say you're going to send a digital version, or George will sign the version that you just sent out earlier, and
Yep.
then forward to the next? Okay. Okay.
Great. That'll be very helpful. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking at your agenda that you sent out just before the meeting. Becky?
You know what? Okay, so we still need to do the transfer of $948.32. If you'll recall, probably won't because it was the middle of June during intense conversations about everything else, but I had relayed to you that the bills for the burners that we had, the finance committee had transferred $4,000 for each of the burners. Those bills came in at $4,400. And so at this, we need an additional $948 $1,046.32 transferred from the finance reserve for those bills. This was an original vote back in December, but the billing took months. And also when the bill came in higher, it was even higher than that, and I rejected it and got it down to this amount.
Who was the vendor?
Jamrog.
Jamrock.
And this was a bid?
This was the one that you, Bob, you talked to Jamrog about when they need the school burners were not functioning properly.
I went down there and saw that they had replaced the burner, one burner when I
Yeah,
was
what?
there.
And then they replaced the second burner when it came in. They did one at a time in case one didn't work.
Right. Yeah, I went down and saw the burner, and I guess he said the old burner wasn't functioning efficiently, or it failed, one of them, so he thought the other one should be replaced as well. But the question I asked is, was this a bid or was it an estimate or what?
You were the one who gave us the amount of $4,000.
I got that from him,
Yeah.
but I didn't get any paperwork or anything. Did he give us a
Well,
quotation?
that's what I discovered after the paper, after he was in process. And so, because I had asked at the time that you forward me the paperwork, but there
Me?
wasn't paperwork. Yeah, because you had the one who got the $4,000 bid,
I
and
think
that's
you're
the
mistaken
amount.
about
that you
that.
forwarded.
I went down there and saw the burner had been installed. I didn't see or hear anything about any burner being replaced until a burner had been replaced. I did not get a bid from Jamrock, and I did not give you the number of $4,000. Those
I
are the
agree,
facts
we
I
do
understand.
not have a bid from Jamrog. You brought the situation to the finance committee, and the finance committee transferred the money before he did the work.
My memory is better than this. I don't recall that at all. And so I'll have to look back into the minutes and see if such a thing did exactly occur. But as far as I'm concerned, I went down there and saw the burner had been replaced. That's the first I heard of it. And I talked to Matt about it.
I believe, I can send you the minutes from the transfer.
Yeah, okay, well, let's do that. Maybe I will stand corrected, and if I do, I will certainly apologize for my faulty memory, but does not register to me. In any case, so as far as you know, there was no bid on this, and so we're just going to pay Jamrog this money. The reason I asked is that there was a bid, there would be some reason to question why we had to pay more. That's all.
I agree, yeah. And that's when the original bill came in at $5,700, and I flipped out on him and took it and went back and said, Bob said you quoted $4,000. And he came back with a revised bid that is $4,400. So it saved, $2,300 just by using your word.
Well, thank you, Bob. I don't recall any of this, but anyway, I make a motion, we approve this money transferred and finish it.
I second the motion. Any further discussion?
Ready?
We're ready for a vote. I'm sorry. Let's start with George. George, you're quiet.
He's muted.
You're on mute, George.
You guys like it that way, I know. Arvanitis, aye.
Your aye.
Groves, aye.
Hemingway, aye.
Cashew, aye.
Mosier, aye.
Oh,
Mr.
I'm sorry, Jim Walton, aye. I was getting used to Eric. Eric, when he was on here, I was always right after Eric. Okay. What I show here is open meeting law review.
I just put that on just so everybody had a copy of the open meeting law available to them during the year, and encourage you all to read through it and ask questions. I think it'll be helpful to have Susie on the committee. She's good at explaining the open meeting law. And at some point, the town clerk usually asks everyone to sign off on that they have reviewed the open meeting law. So I wanted to be sure that it was available in full form for everybody.
Okay.
When I put online on the town clerk's page, the open meeting law guide, I had to use the cover that they gave me, but in fact, the copy I gave people says that there's 3 really important things in this guide to pay attention to. What constitutes a deliberation on pages 3 and 4, what public participation is described as on page 15 and 16, and then how we get minutes, which is on page 16. And I think it will be important to continue to practice good open meeting law where we don't put our opinion in an email that gets sent out to a quorum of people. And in a committee of 7 people, you certainly can talk to one other person or even 2 so that you're under a quorum, but you cannot share ideas and develop ideas outside of an open posted meeting. So that is not always convenient, but it is the law.
Susie, does that include just the strictly sharing of a document that might be relevant to some discussion the committee has been having?
From what I've read, you can send out preparatory material, but it's not for discussion. So,
Not to be discussed. Okay.
so
via email.
oftentimes when you do that, you should put that caveat in the email. Here's some information that will be discussed at the next meeting.
Got it.
It might be that 2 members start talking about it, but really what is the purpose of open meeting is to have discussions in public that develop ideas, not sort of bully pulpits where it happens off the public meeting.
Thank you, Susie.
Okay, is there anything else? Any other comments, discussion? Anything you want to share, Becky?
No.
We're good?
Yep.
Okay. Next one you have here is town meeting review.
Yes. I thought you all might want to talk about how town meeting went.
Okay. So just sharing each of our perspectives on, we were all there. Melody, were you there?
Yes, I had to leave at noon, unfortunately, but yes.
Okay, yeah, so we were all there. And here's our opportunity to share our insights or perspective on how the meeting went. I thought the Board of Health, that team and everything they did in preparation for that meeting was incredible. You know, the planning, the work, the time, the professionalism, everything was, I thought was quite impressive. All the things they did that haven't been done before was quite impressive.
I
Totally
think-
agree. Yeah.
I agree. I thought everybody did a great job. I thought the setup was perfect. There's no question the Board of Health and the job they did was outstanding. I thought the Finance Committee and the Select Board, Becky, Susie, I thought everybody did a great job. And Paul, I thought managed it really well. And it was great. It's a part of history. This is something we may never experience again.
Hopefully.
Really. So I thought I was glad to be there. I was glad to be a part of it. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Just one note. We might be looking at a special town meeting in September or October. So George, it might not be the only time you experience that. Just to keep in mind.
Might be snowing instead of raining.
Yes, just try to arrange it when it was, you know, when it didn't pour on us. That would be nice, but it went very well, I think. People were also very fearful of coming to town meeting all over town, which is unfortunate, and there isn't much we can do about that.
The turnout didn't seem bad, though, given that we're in Corona.
77 people.
Oh, that's a little.
How many, Becky? Say that again.
177 people attended.
Oh,
That's a lot.
well, that's better than most town meetings.
How many people normally come?
About that. I mean,
Yeah,
people
start
tend to
that
come
and
and
then it
go,
drops.
but they couldn't really leave this time.
Well, I noticed a lot of people stayed, a lot of people left after the bylaws regarding the solar farm.
Yeah.
I had a comment from a first-time attender who was surprised. They hadn't understood what the process would be, and they compared it to national conversations where people don't seem to be listening or being heard or having a turn. And so that's a tribute to the moderator and to the participants for speaking and then letting the discussion go on.
I sure would like to know how Leverett and other towns managed to get the meeting in well under 2.5 hours. We still seem to always seem to have to, it just seems to take a long time. I don't know how they did it, but I know Paul Lyons has been looking into the way that they grouped warrants together and did all sorts of things to try to speed up the process. Maybe
Could it have
that's-
been just fewer warrants in general, or?
No, actually,
not it?
I believe Leverett had well over 30 warrants, as did we, and they managed to get this all done in what seems an unbelievably short amount of time. And I don't know how that could have happened compared to what we've always had to go through, because our meetings have always gone on for well into the afternoon. And I recall them well from being on the finance committee and sitting up front by the stage.
One thing that we had this year was the planning board's proposed bylaws, which were quite lengthy.
Yeah.
Took quite a bit of time, and there are
Yeah.
articles, warrants, and there are articles and warrants. I mean, those were some pretty heavy lifting. That was a long process to present those and vote on them.
There was a lot of details in both of those, and there was a lot of people interested in those details.
Yep.
The last time the planning board brought forward their zoning bylaw changes, remember the big zoning bylaw changes?
For solar,
What?
marijuana or solar?
No, when the overall change in 2008?
2008, yeah.
Yeah. The only way the meeting was down to 5 hours was somebody called the question on the budget without any discussion.
That's right, I recall
Remember
that.
that?
Yeah, I do.
So that just cut out like an hour and a half right there. But
The main reason we were at town meeting was to discuss the budget.
right. It's probably good they didn't do that this year. It would have made a short meeting, but it would not have been as good a meeting.
So Becky, you mentioned that there might be a special town meeting. Could you tell us about that?
Depending on what the state has not come out with much information on what they're going to give us for state aid this year. And they probably won't do it until September. And, when that information comes out, there could be a reason to review the budget and how much free cash was put into it in relationship to whatever aid we get.
Specifically the revenue source, not the budget expense lines.
No, the revenue source. And this, we don't know, exactly what's happening with the school, if they're going to get sufficient extra grant money to make the changes they need to make. And we haven't gotten a request from the region yet on what they're going to want to assess us from our CARES money. So there's just, like Jim has been pointing out, these are unusual times, and there's a lot of bubbling issues that that we might want to address again, but maybe not.
Becky, could you tell me, please, did the school have any plan about how they're going to deploy staff and students and so forth? Or is that something still being studied at this point?
It's still being studied. I know the regional school has is zeroing in on some plans. They're sticking with the 6-foot distancing, not accepting the 3-foot distancing that DESE has proposed. And they're talking about different schedules for kids on different days. They're pretty far along, and I believe the elementary school is as well. I haven't gotten through to Jackie to get a new overview, which I hope to do in the next week or so.
Thanks.
And I'll definitely share any of that information when I get it.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. I think it was George that said it. It was really a lot of fun to be at that meeting, see democracy really working in action. It's good fun. It's good to be part. It's nice to be part of that.
If we do end up with a special town meeting, there won't be elections happening over on the sideline. So the whole thing could be smaller and easier.
Oh, that's a good point.
Lots of tents and chairs and whatnot may not be needed.
Not so many big tents. We have quite a few littleish ones now.
Okay.
We'll also have to see where the pandemic's at by then.
Yep.
The next item on the agenda, I don't know if you want to hold that for your next meeting. Just briefly, it's review Finance Committee annual process, materials timeline, committee assignments, and financial policies. For the new members, the annual timeline is usually getting organized starting in September. Putting together a calendar of events, calendar of meetings with the main departments that usually runs into February. Materials are developed with all the information. The budgets from each department are shared. The timeline also includes meetings that focus in on issues like OPEB or funding for internet and those type of things. And then usually at the first meeting in September, people pick assignments to different committees. Currently, Jim's on the personnel board. Bob's been on capital planning. Jim Hemingway has been on was started out as a representative to the broadband committee. Jim, is that right? For the finance committee, or was that Eric? That was Eric.
Yeah, Eric was, he's a member of the broadband committee. But as you know, I was elected to the MLP a year ago, a little over a year ago.
So just so everybody thinks about what your interest is, Weezy used to be the liaison to the school committee and would attend those meetings once a month. We usually had, the finance committee had representation on the CPC. So it's CPC, capital planning, personnel board, school committee. And maybe you want to restructure how you do that. If you want to have a particular person working with the police department and the fire department, but the main things that require representation are the personnel board, capital planning, and CPC.
And school committee, no?
School committee is a liaison, not on the board. Yeah, and you definitely need somebody that's paying attention to the school and going to meetings to keep communication solid. So maybe if everybody thinks about that, and for the next meeting, you can reach out and say what positions you're interested in doing. Okay.
One thing I would like to bring up, and I think this is the area, the select board has a process of dealing with public participation. And this agenda wrote it that way, 5 minutes at the beginning of the meeting. The select board doesn't answer questions or engage in a discussion. They just take the comments. And I think that that is a useful way of organizing public participation. It allows, certainly people are welcome to come and observe, but the agenda and the people that are the members of the committee, it's their job to get the work done. And so the public could submit comments and questions in writing that then after the meeting, people could take up answering that or thinking about it or figuring out what information needs to be gathered. But I feel that the involvement of the people on the committee who do the work and who show up at every meeting and who attend other meetings, that is the purpose of being on the committee. And I'd like to see that used as our standard the way it is used as the select board standard.
Leslie.
I've attended several Board of Selectmen meetings over the last months and years, and I've had different experiences, Susie. I've prepared formal comments, written questions, and as you said, the Board of Selectmen did not respond at the meeting. Subsequently, I never got a response or a follow-up, which I thought was remiss. I've also been at Board of Selectmen meetings where the board has invited discussion in the course of the meeting about certain topics where I've been able to speak to them, get responses, and hopefully see discussion take a good turn. So those are two experiences that I've had. Having 5 minutes right at the top for somebody to prepare public comments or public participation is, might be practical, but for example, right now, I've sat at the meeting and listened for an hour and a half, and I really welcome, Jim, you're recognizing me to be able to put in, a few comments in terms of this process.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Mike.
Yeah, I'd just like to weigh in on that comment, Susie. I don't know what your main concern is. I could see if you had 100 people attending a meeting and everybody wants to express their opinion, but especially with the Finance Committee, I've been going to these meetings for the last several months via Zoom, and there's usually only 2 or 3 people from the public that are there. And a lot of times, none of us have any comments to make. And I'm just really concerned that if you have official policy that you're going to restrict people from participating. I mean, if that were the case, I would not be attending these meetings. If I have no ability to make a comment, I would not attend the meeting. And I think leaving it up to the chair to recognize people to make when they can speak is the right way to go with this.
If I may, Jim.
Yeah, Bob.
I just want to support more democracy, not less, more exchange of views, not less. If it becomes unmanageable, yes, then one has to restrict public comment and discussion because it's just not workable. But as a general policy, to impose this kind of order on a meeting and exclude the public from the meeting, from directly participating in the meeting, would be a big mistake. I think, again, if we identify a problem where people are being disruptive and the meetings go on, then maybe we have to address that at that time. But that has not been the case in our meetings since I've been on the board. So I think we should keep it the way it is and try to encourage people to come to our meetings, to get involved with town business, to express themselves. And if there's no problem in terms of us doing our jobs, I would welcome that.
I just want to mention that the school committee has the same policy. It's not unique to the select board.
Excuse me, what is not unique to the select board?
The 5 minutes of open comment at the beginning of the school committee meeting, where they do not engage in discussion on the issue raised by, for the first time in a public comment. They take the public comment and then they decide if it's an issue to come back to later or how to respond to it, but they don't respond in that session. It's their policy, and it was, I think, Michael DeCara who brought it to the select board to handle in the same way. After he had been on the school committee for a number of years, he requested that be the way the select board handle things too. Just a point of fact, I'm not just giving you a little bit of history.
I think it's something to think about. I don't want to resolve it tonight. I just feel, especially when I look at the work the committee has to get done, and I feel like people can give input, but it doesn't have to become it doesn't have to knock out or take over the agenda on a given night.
I would, I think I want to be practical, and I want the meetings to run smoothly and fast. And certainly if people can chime in at any time, we can get sidetracked, not so much this time of year, but certainly when the spring comes around. And having a policy where people can speak up at any time in the meeting, put some pressure on the chair to kind of moderate that and manage it, but it also can lead to a misconception about what the chair had done. I heard in a number of finance committee meetings this spring criticism that somebody had shut Bob off shortly, or Jim off shortly, or George off shortly, or somebody. And it starts to get a little political when you have a situation like that. So I would say I'd be okay with Susie's recommendation if we as a committee at some point, either in the current meeting or in the subsequent meeting, talked about the issues that were raised by members of the community, and whether we can say we can debate it and talk about it shortly, but acknowledge that they spoke, acknowledge that they had a specific issue that they wanted us to consider, and we can't do it at that moment in time, and we can't do it in the middle of some other thing that we're doing. But I agree that this should be a democratic process. I agree, Bob, that everybody should get an opportunity to speak. In the general public, we want to engage the public and we want the feedback. So that's the way I would be okay with that, is if at least at some point, like I heard Becky say about the school committee, we do acknowledge what was presented to us in some manner or fashion and respond appropriately.
I'll chime in real quick. I'm wondering if there's sort of a compromise step, which would be to include some statement or language in our official agendas that speaks to and kind of creates the right proper expectation among, town members that are going to participate in our meetings, that, committee chair has, I don't know exactly what the statement would read, but the committee chair has the discretion to call on non-committee members if time allows, and but there's no I don't exactly know how to say this, but there's no requirement or expectation that those issues will be discussed at any length during the meeting. Or that's bad language, but I guess the idea being that there's some statement that maybe corrects or puts out the right expectations that town members should have about what the role of public comment is during our meetings. And if that's actually somehow printed on the agenda, that might be a useful step.
Basically, AJ, that's what we do now.
Is it part of the agenda? I can't.
Well, no, the agenda has public comments as written on the agenda. And that's a recent development, if I'm not mistaken. But I've seen in meetings where they've been chaired by Eric and Rita or George and Eric and others that, if there's a lot of work to be done and the public comments are restricted.
Yeah, all I'm saying
That's
is
just the way the meetings have been run since I've been on the board, right, George? And if there's time and people are, it's people, we welcome this kind of thing, but then sometimes it's not manageable under the circumstances and it's restricted, that's all.
Yeah, Bob, I totally 100% agree with what you just said. All I'm saying is that it might be a useful step to actually write out a sentence or two that articulates that process or that expectation, and that might be useful for some town members who might attend a meeting with an expectation that they are, that they're absolutely entitled to raise an issue and have it be discussed by committee members. So that's all I'm suggesting, is just being clear about that, including it in the agenda.
Mike?
Yeah, AJ, that expectation is already there. I mean, when I was on the select board, my expectation at a meeting was that if the public is there and we're discussing a topic, that if we have time, the chair would recognize a person that wanted to make a comment. It's the same thing that the planning board does now. If you're at a planning board meeting, if you're talking about some sort of zoning thing or whatever, the chair goes out of his way, as a matter of fact, to make sure that anybody who wants to say something has the opportunity to do that. So I think, right now it sounds to me like you guys are trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. And, I think the expectation in town is that if you go to a meeting and you have something to say, when the chair recognizes you, you're going to have that opportunity. And I think that's the way it ought to stay.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting changing that. I'm suggesting just writing that down in a sentence or two and including it in the agenda. That might be a helpful step. Not for you, Mike. I know you attend meetings routinely, and so but for somebody who attends a meeting for a first time, and I wouldn't necessarily want them to come to have the expectation that and then that they're going to have an opportunity to start some kind of a discussion at the meeting, and when that doesn't happen, to have them be disappointed about that.
Well, if they raise their hand, they get recognized, they get to say what they say. If they start babbling on, then the chair says, we've got to move on. We're going to have to end the discussion. I mean, I think that's totally reasonable.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Leslie, it looks like you have something else to comment on this.
I should put my hands over my face because I'm all too readable sometimes. Tonight's meeting, has been really messy at times, especially around the shed and the kind of the going back and forth. Running a meeting is an art, and in my professional career, dozens of meetings, a lot of them contentious, but it is an art. And the chairman and the committee really needs to pay attention to the process of it. And the process is doing the business, and doing the business includes public participation, and the public participation being welcomed and at the same time being moderated. So that's what you were reading on my face.
Thank you. Any other comments? Not from you, Leslie. Are we good? I don't think we have any other agenda topics.
I think you covered the whole agenda.
We covered the whole agenda?
Yes.
It's not even 9 o'clock.
I do have one question. Jim, are you going to be in charge of posting meetings?
That's part of my job, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a meeting posted for next Tuesday, right?
I haven't posted it yet, but I will post it.
Oh, okay.
It's scheduled. I will get it posted.
Okay. And that's a one topic meeting?
Yes. And
Okay.
the select board might be joining at 7:15.
Okay.
Is it beginning at 7 o'clock or 7:15?
7:15.
7:15.
Well, our meeting begins at 7, does it not?
The meeting starts at 7 and they join us at 7:15?
No, the meeting is scheduled to start at 7:15.
Okay, got it.
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
For a second.
Second.
I had one other comment. I just want to make sure we again, welcome to Melody. And Melody, early on, you mentioned, you made a comment about whether you should ask a question or not. And I guess my first thought is, from my position, any question's a good question.
Thank you.
I'm going to have a lot of questions in my new role too, trying to sort out this role. So welcome back, George. Welcome back, Susie. We're off and running. This is going to be an exciting year, isn't it?
It already is.
It's already too exciting.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Everybody have a good one.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.